Pack your things. You're not staying here anymore. My mother said that at 6:18 p.m. on a Thursday in August. It was 98 degrees outside. I was 12 years old. She didn't whisper it. She didn't cry. She said it loud enough for the neighbor standing on the porch across the street to hear. 2 trash bags. That's what 12 years of childhood fit into. I remember staring at the digital clock on the microwave while she held the front door open. 6:22 p.m. 4 minutes. That's how long it took to erase a daughter. For 21 years, I told myself she must have had a reason. Then on March 3rd at 9:07 a.m., her lawyer called. And the first thing he said was, "Miss Carter, there are documents you need to see." What my mother didn't know was that I don't panic anymore. I calculate. Before I go further, if you've ever been the child who had to grow up too fast, hit like, subscribe, and drop your city and local time in the comments. I read them. I want to know who's here with me. My name is Ava Carter. I'm 33 now, and 21 years after being thrown out, I learned it wasn't abandonment. It was strategy. The lawyer's name was Thomas Hale, estate attorney, measured voice, controlled pauses. "Your mother passed away 2 weeks ago," he said. I didn't react. We hadn't spoken in years. "I'm calling regarding the execution of her estate. There's a trust involved, and your name appears repeatedly." Repeatedly. That word sat differently. My mother didn't erase people quietly. She erased them completely. "I'll need you in person," he continued. "There are financial records dating back to 2003. 2003, the year I was told to leave. I wrote down the appointment time. Monday, 10 a.m. Then I said one word. Okay. But okay wasn't forgiveness. It was preparation. What they didn't know was that I'd built my entire adult life around documentation. When you grow up without a safety net, you learn to track every dollar. And I had questions about 2003. Monday morning, I walked into Hale & Associates in downtown Raleigh. Glass doors, soft carpet, the kind of office that smells expensive. Thomas Hale didn't waste time. He slid a folder across the desk. "Before your mother removed you from the home in August 2003, he said carefully, "she executed several financial transfers." Transfers. I opened the folder, highlighted lines, bank statements, trust drafts. August 14th, 2003, 9:02 a.m. Custodial account withdrawal, $42,600. August 14th, 2003, 11:47 a.m. Property refinance initiated. August 14th, 2003, 3:15 p.m. Minor beneficiary removed from dependent clause. 6:18 p.m. I felt the air thin. That was the time she told me to pack. She refinanced the house using funds that had been legally set aside for me. My father had died 2 years earlier. Life insurance payout. $125,000. Part of it placed in a custodial account in my name until I turned 18. Or so I was told. Except the account was emptied, the same day I was kicked out. "That account required 2 signatures," I said quietly. "Yes," Hale replied. "Your mother's and a secondary co-trustee." "Who was the co-trustee?" He paused, then turned the page. "Your uncle, Daniel Carter." My mother's brother. The man who drove me to my grandmother's house that night and told me, "It's temporary." Temporary lasted 21 years. I asked Hale the only question that mattered. Was this legal? Another pause. "Not as executed." He rotated the document toward me. The signature on the custodial withdrawal line. It said, Ava Carter. My name. Except I was 12, and I had never signed anything that day. The A was wrong. I looped mine open. This one was tight, closed. For 21 years, I believed I was unwanted. Turns out, I was inconvenient. I didn't cry in the lawyer's office. I zoomed in. The custodial withdrawal form was scanned at 9:02 a.m., the refinance paperwork timestamped at 11:47 a.m., and my removal from the dependent clause filed at 3:15 p.m. Then at 6:18 p.m., I was told to leave. Step 1, empty the account. Step 2, lock in the refinance. Step 3, remove the liability. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a sequence. What happened to the $42,600? I asked. Thomas Hale folded his hands. It was applied toward the refinance closing costs and debt consolidation. Your mother's credit card balances were significant at the time. How significant? He slid another sheet across. $38,200 revolving credit. $6,400 personal loan arrears. $3,900 tax lien settlement. Total, $48,500. She used my custodial account to stabilize her finances, then removed me from the household before I turned 13. Not because she couldn't afford me, because she couldn't afford the audit trail. What about the trust? I asked. Hale exhaled carefully. Your mother created a revocable living trust in 2004. It was amended 4 times. Each amendment reduced distributions to other family members. Other family members. I already knew who that meant. My Uncle Daniel, the same co-trustee who signed the withdrawal, the same man who told me everything would blow over. When was the final amendment? I asked. 6 months ago. He handed me the document. There it was. Beneficiary, Ava Carter. Primary heir. I stared at it. For 21 years, I had nothing. Now, apparently, I had everything. How much? I asked. Hale didn't dramatize it. After debts, liquidation of property, and asset consolidation, approximately $612,000. The room didn't spin. My heartbeat didn't change. Money doesn't rewrite childhood, but numbers explain motives. Before I continue, if you've ever discovered the truth decades after living a lie, drop a comment below. I read every one. And if you're still here, make sure you're subscribed. Stories like this don't end the way you expect. There was one more document in the folder, a handwritten letter, dated 4 months before her death, addressed to me. I didn't open it, not yet. I need to understand something first, I said. Why now? Hale adjusted his glasses. Because your uncle contested the trust amendment. Of course he did. When? I asked. 30 days after it was filed. So this isn't just an estate execution. No, Hale replied calmly. It's litigation. And that's when it became clear. I wasn't being called as a daughter. I was being called as the primary beneficiary in a legal dispute. What's his claim? I asked. That the original custodial withdrawal was authorized by you. I almost smiled. At 12? He claims you signed with permission. Permission? From whom? The woman who removed me hours later? Hale continued. He argues that the funds were used for household expenses that benefited you. That sentence almost impressed me. The audacity was structured. I leaned forward. Is the original custodial withdrawal form preserved? Yes. Does it contain metadata? It does. Then we can request forensic handwriting analysis and timestamp verification. Hale looked at me differently then, not as a grieving daughter, as a strategist. You work in compliance? He asked. Forensic audit, I replied. Small silence. Then he said the sentence that shifted everything. You don't need to defend your childhood. You need to prosecute the timeline. And there it was. Power reversal. What my uncle didn't know was that by contesting the trust, he reopened 2003. And 2003 wasn't just messy, it was fraudulent. If the custodial withdrawal was forged, and it was, that's felony financial exploitation of a minor. Statute of limitations doesn't protect fraud when it's concealed, especially not when probate reactivates financial review. Within 72 hours, Hale filed a motion requesting full forensic handwriting analysis, bank transaction server logs, refinance closing disclosures, co-trustee communication records. My uncle had wanted a bigger slice of the estate. Instead, he triggered a forensic excavation. And this time, I wasn't 12. I wasn't carrying trash bags. I was carrying documentation. 3 days later, the family texts started. Cousin Rachel, why are you dragging this through court? Aunt Melissa, your mom regretted a lot. Can't you just let it go? Let it go. The favorite phrase of people who weren't locked out at 6:22 p.m. Then Daniel finally texted, you're blowing this out of proportion. That money kept a roof over your head. For 2 hours, before I was removed from it. I didn't respond. Because you don't argue in group chats. You argue in depositions. The court date was set. Conference room. Mediation first. Documentation required. No raised voices. No rewriting history. Just signatures. The mediation was scheduled for 9:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. 21 years after I was told to pack my things, I was walking into a conference room because someone thought I wouldn't check the paperwork. The building was cold, neutral, designed for controlled conflict. My Uncle Daniel was already seated when I walked in. Gray suit, tight smile. The same man who once told me, "It's just temporary, kiddo." His attorney sat beside him. Thomas Hale sat to my right. Structure again. No shouting. No emotional speeches. Documentation only. I placed my folder on the table. Tab 1. Custodial account withdrawal. $42,600. Tab 2. Refinance closing disclosures. Tab 3. Signature comparison. Tab 4. Timeline. Let's begin, the mediator said. Daniel leaned back in his chair like this was a formality. She signed the withdrawal with her mother's consent, he said smoothly. It was used for household expenses. I slid forward the forensic analysis report. Independent handwriting expert, certified. Conclusion. Signature inconsistent with known samples, likely simulated. The room shifted. Daniel's attorney adjusted his glasses. That's opinion, he said carefully. I slid forward tab 2. Refinance closing disclosure. Line item. Credit card payoff. $38,200. Personal loan. $6,400. Tax lien. $3,900. Total household debt paid that day. $48,500. Household expenses? I asked calmly. Or debt liquidation? Daniel's jaw tightened. He tried a different angle. Your mother was under stress. She did what she thought was best. At 9:02 a.m., she emptied my account. At 11:47 a.m., she refinanced the house. At 3:15 p.m., she removed me from the dependent clause. At 6:18 p.m., I was told to leave. I slid forward tab 4, the timeline printed in bold. This wasn't stress, I said evenly. This was sequencing. The mediator looked at Daniel. Did you advise your sister during these transactions? Silence. Not emotional silence, strategic silence. His attorney leaned in and whispered something urgent. Because here's the part Daniel hadn't calculated. By contesting the trust, he triggered full discovery, which meant subpoena power, which meant bank server logs, which meant email records. And what the logs showed was simple. The custodial withdrawal form had been scanned from my uncle's office printer at 8:53 a.m., 9 minutes before submission. My 12-year-old self did not have access to his office. That ended the debate. Daniel shifted tactics. "This is unnecessary litigation," he said. "We can settle." Of course. When evidence becomes inconvenient, people discover compromise. "How much?" I asked. Hale didn't look surprised. Daniel's attorney cleared his throat. "Your client would withdraw the fraud allegation, and we would relinquish any claim to the amended trust." Meaning, they walk away quietly. No criminal referral, no formal fraud finding, just silence. For 21 years, silence worked for them. It didn't work for me. I looked at Daniel. "You signed as co-trustee," I said. "You authorized the withdrawal." "You transported me to Grandma's that night and told me it was temporary." He didn't respond, because there's no defense for a timestamp. Here's what I decided. I wouldn't pursue criminal charges, but I wouldn't bury the record either. Settlement terms were drafted. Daniel formally withdraws contest of the trust. Full acknowledgement of unauthorized custodial withdrawal. Written affidavit entered into probate record. No claim against estate assets. All legal fees paid from Daniel's portion of contested funds. He signed, not because he was remorseful, because he was cornered. The trust was executed in full, $612,000 transferred, clean, verified, accounted for. But the money wasn't the climax. The climax came when I finally opened the handwritten letter. 4 pages. No dramatic apology, no tears and ink. Just this line that mattered. "I thought removing you would protect you from the financial mess I created. I convinced myself you'd be better off away from it." Protect me? By emptying my account, by signing my name, by sending me away. That wasn't protection. It was containment. 3 months later, the estate closed. Daniel hasn't contacted me since. Family group chats went silent. Cousins stopped sending moral advice. The narrative shifted from ungrateful daughter to legal dispute resolved. That's how families rewrite things. Neutrally, quietly, conveniently. I bought a small house outside Raleigh, paid in cash, no co-signers, no shared deeds, no dependency clauses. The first night I slept there, I noticed something strange. No anxiety, no fear of being told to leave. Because here's the truth. At 12, I thought I was unwanted. At 33, I learned I was expensive, and someone made a decision based on numbers. Now I make mine based on boundaries. So let me ask you this. If someone rewrote your childhood to cover their own financial mistake, would you let the past stay buried? Or would you pull the records and read every timestamp? Tell me in the comments. And if you've ever been erased for someone else's convenience, I see you. Make sure you're subscribed, because sometimes the truth doesn't come from memories. It comes from paperwork.